What's going on, guys? Russo Trades here. Just kind of wanted to do a little breakdown of what I'm seeing in the charts. It's Monday morning. We have news at 9:45 and also at 10. I'm currently in this Euro trade 6E, which is basically Euro USD. I'll show you why and my thoughts on it. So as you can see, um, 6B is GBP USD, and the one I'm in is Euro USD. So you can see here, if it ever loads, computer's a little slow, sorry for that. So we swept previous day's low here. So now we swept the liquidity, boom. And I noticed on Euro, we never took previous day's low. So now we have bullish SMT here. So this is the stronger asset. And if I'm long biased, I want to long the stronger asset. If I'm short biased, I want to short the weaker asset. So that's mainly what I've been taught. So after I seen we swept previous day's low, we had this market structure shift right here. I would have liked to seen a retracement into this gap and this gap, and we still might get it, which that would have been the cleaner entry, the better risk to reward. But I figured the 1 hour was going to make a breakaway gap, which we didn't, but we still could break away here. But if we were tracing to the 1 hour, that's why I kind of have a loose stop. I might get stopped here. I don't put a hard stop, put a stop below the candle close. So the candle has to close below the fair value gap candle that was created. And what I'm targeting is, since we took out external, I'm targeting internal. So internal would be what? Internal would be this unbalanced fair value gap here, these relative equal highs. Um, Most of the trades I take pretty similar. So we'll see how this plays out. It's a 1 to 2. I go for a 1 to 2 always. This is midnight opening price here. I always short above midnight opening price and I long below midnight opening price. Very important. Really just focusing on highs and lows and fair value gaps. SMTs help a lot, like in this case. But I'll show you what I see on NQ and actually the rest of the charts. Is quite a few setups. Sometimes I switch out the time frames. I don't always have them all on. So on the weekly, this I actually missed a really nice entry on silver this morning. We'll see if it plays out. So here we have a weekly fair value gap, obviously, on Nasdaq. It looks cleaner on ES, but I'll mark them both out. So weekly fair value gap, we should go from internal range liquidity to external. External would be the high, and the market goes from external to internal, internal to external. On every single time frame it does this. So it's not just on the weekly, not just on the higher time frames. Um, so since that is a weekly fair value gap, what I do want to see is a 4 hour fair value gap be created. And as you can see, we had a nope, we didn't even have one here. So we didn't have one on NQ. I believe we had one on ES, and that's why I like the ES better because fair value gaps tell you the story, it tells you everything. So we have our weekly fair value gap. Um, if you don't get a week, if we don't get a 4 hour fair value gap, I guess we should tap into this 1 hour at some point. If we don't, then maybe we'll see a 4 hour be created. But what I want to see here is we reacted off of this nicely. So now we could find like a lower time frame entry model. Try not to go below the 15-minute recently. But yeah, so we have the same thing on ES. I don't think I'm gonna go through every single pair, but I'll show you the ones that caught my eye yesterday. Because Sunday night is when I normally mark out my charts. I actually deleted most of the my markups just for the fact that I have been trading the 15-minute model. It's the MMXM Traders Twitter model. So I have been kind of trading that because it's very simple. I mean, I do wait for this, and I would like to get an entry off of like these daily, weekly, and monthly contexts, but you don't always get an entry, and if you do, sometimes it's a swing, and with futures, you can't hold overnight, so that's one of the things there. But this is really clean here because we had this weekly fair value gap on ES, and then we created this 4 hour. So right now, I would look for this 4 hour to be traded into. Might get it here during the news in 9:45 and 10 o'clock. So we have a 4 hour fair value gap. I would look for now out of this 4 hour fair value gap, the correlated time frame would be the 15 minute. So the monthly correlates with the daily, the weekly with the 4 hour, the daily with the 1 hour, 4 hour with the 15, the 1 hour with the 5, and the 15 with the 1 minute. So just looking for a retracement into here and a 15 minute fair value gap out of that. And then that would be your entry. So silver, what I seen was, I think it was also, matter of fact, it's invalid now that I just realized. Because we do have a weekly fair value gap here that we are trading into. We have this overlapping swing high, which would be like a order block, breaker block, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's not really a breaker because we didn't sweep liquidity, but it's an order block or a mitigation block. But I would like to see a 4 hour fair value gap be created out of here. I kind of said I missed an entry on the 1 hour, but technically, since it is a 4 hour level, a 1 hour isn't enough confirmation. But if you did enter off of this 1 hour fair value gap, I mean, it wasn't bad because we had a fair value gap in, fair value gap out. The reason that that's good is because when we have a fair value gap in, the market's trapping traders here to go short into this weekly level that they're unaware of. Now we're going long on them. But as you can see, we had this 1 hour fair value gap here. And inside of this 1 hour fair value gap, you could have gotten a 5 minute entry. So I did miss that. If you did swing this, it would be a 1 to 2 right at the fair value gap. I'd put my stops at the bodies here because the wicks are a little bit too far. But if this, if we're right on the buys here, we should just tap into this and pump. We shouldn't retrace all the way down here to these bodies. Also, we do have this breaker right here, so this should hold price up. It would be a 1 to 2. I think the 5 minute entry already played out, which was nice. Um, Natural gas, the same thing. A lot of these charts this week are actually a lot of weekly fair value gaps. Some of them have monthly fair value gaps, some have daily, but I always like to see a daily, weekly, or monthly level, whether that's a fair value gap or a swing high or swing low. Like with the model I've been trading, it's, a sweep of a previous daily high, previous daily low, and then market structure shift, S&T, fair value gap entry. Or it could be, it's all fractal. Like you could do that on the weekly and the 1 hour. Because I'm doing it on the daily and the 15. You could do it on the weekly and the 1 hour, or the monthly and the 4 hour. Or you have these, that's an external range to internal range model. This right here is a little better because it's an internal to external. So you're trading with the trend. I do like external to internal better because once we hit external, we're going to internal. When we're going from internal to external, you're if you're wrong about the order flow and you're wrong about the bias and the narrative, we're not always going to go from internal all the way to external. But when it comes from external to internal, we always do. So that's why I kind of like the other model I'm trading better. Let's see. Let's see what the euro is doing right now. Okay, so we're pushing up here. What I would like to see is another fair value gap be created higher. And that will confirm that we're gonna go hit TP just because when we retrace into a fair value gap, we want to see a new fair value gap be created out of it. That confirms, the order flow is we're displacing higher or lower, whichever you're in. So we had this monthly on CL that I was watching, and we actually just disrespected it. The candle just closed last week, Friday or this Sunday. But what I did see last night was this 4 hour. I did think this 4 hour was gonna take us to this sell side level. So looks pretty good. No real entries there. This is its correlated asset, which is pretty good because we did have a daily fair value gap here. So we had this daily fair value gap. That means we would use the 1 hour. So your 1 hour entry would have been somewhere in here. It's not the greatest risk to reward, but I think we can get a 1 to 2 out of it. Yeah. So this would probably end up playing out. If you wanted a better risk reward, you could have dropped down to the 15 minute or the 5 minute. Like right here, you could have got this 15 minute fair value gap entry during a little after London session. And that would have already played out here. But as you can see, I'm always going from 1 to 2s. I'm using the fair value gaps because without a fair value gap, everything is useless. Like an order block is useless, a breaker block is useless. That's why I don't really use anything else. I call them out and I talk about them a little bit, but fair value gap's the most important thing because when you have these gaps in price, the banks are in the market or whoever, whatever you want to call it, the big players, and that means we have, momentum in one direction. We're displacing. So we want to see fair value gaps be created. We want to trade off the fair value gaps, and we want to use the swing highs and swing lows as our targets or as our um for our bias, whatever the case may be. So I did show you the natural gas trade. I don't think I actually showed it. Got a little sidetracked talking about this, but let's mark it out. So weekly level, meaning we want to go to the 4 hour. What we see on the 4 hour is we actually gapped up a lot here. And I think that's why the momentum never brought us back to this. But eventually I think we'll come back to that because it's a big gap. So that's like your new week opening gap. And I guess it's a fair value gap, but this would be your fair value gap that we did trade into. And then off of that, we have our 15-minute gap here, which would be our scalp entry, intraday entry, whatever you want to call it. 1 to 2, somewhere here. 1 to 2. We'll see if that plays out as well. The reason I was looking at silver and not gold is because silver and gold are correlated and gold is a lot weaker and I'm bullish on silver and gold. So definitely want to trade silver in this case. Um, Bitcoin and Ethereum, not much there. I don't really trade futures, Bitcoin and Ethereum. I do want to get into Forex just because, I mean, I used to trade Forex, but I never really knew how to trade back then. But now I want to get back into it just because there's a lot of opportunity in terms of how many markets there are and how many correlated assets there are. It's a lot more than futures. I do like futures better because the spreads are low. We do get more volatility, but there is a lot of opportunity on Forex. So I'll see if I can show you a couple of different setups that, it's all hindsight, but these are things that like the way I trade is very mechanical now. I mean, inverses, the way you used to trade was very mechanical too. So when it's mechanical, you can kind of know exactly what your setup's going to look like because it looks like the same thing almost every time. I think there was one on Euro AUD. Yeah, okay. So here we swept previous daily high. We had our market structure shift here. Since this fair value gap's huge, I would enter at 50% of it, which just got tagged. And then boom, you would target, 2R. If we go to the higher time frames, let's see if there was anything on the higher time frame confirming where we were going. Okay, there was. So we were delivering from this daily down to this swing low, which kind of just confirmed that was that was nice. And we also had an SMT at the highs. So we had an SMT, bearish SMT with GBP AUD, which is its correlated asset. So GBP AUD is the weaker one right now. So I probably would have shorted the weaker one, but as you can see, the weaker one never really gave an entry. I mean, you could have entered here, but it's like stop would have been way too big. And if you put it here at this breakaway gap, you don't know. It could still retrace there, but I mean, if you did do it like that, you could have got your 1 to 2 here. I don't really like how it looks. I like how the other pair kind of formed better just because we got our entry here and now way down here. So that's a clean setup there. Um, let's see, is there anything else? Uh, I'll probably stay on for a little bit just to see how the news pushes our trade either to the stop loss or to the take profit. Um, so what I do see on Bitcoin, forgot to talk about it. I see this weekly fair value gap here that we potentially could trade into and into, or on Ethereum, the same thing. The reason I like that is because we're already delivering out of a monthly fair value gap. We have all-time highs, obviously, and you don't want to call tops in the market, so just trade with the trend. But we have a monthly fair value gap going higher already. And now we have a weekly fair value gap going higher. So I would like to see us retrace into here. I don't really trade this, but it's just good to, see how price moves and how all the markets do the same thing, internal to external, external to internal. Sorry if I have low energy. I work overnight now. I get out, at 3, 4, 5 a.m. So don't really get much sleep. Wake up, get on the charts, do the same thing. So yeah, I would like to see us come into this weekly and get a 4 hour, confirmation out of there. DXY is pretty bearish to me just because we disrespected this bullish fair value gap, so we should go see the low. It's basically how the inverse model I used to trade worked, but it still works. Just trade internal or external now. Sometimes I'll use like that to confirm my bias. I mean, that is just common sense. If we don't respect this bullish fair value gap, where do you think we're gonna go? We're gonna go to the low. So let's go see how our futures trade is playing out. So news is in 15 minutes. I like how we're creating this bullish fair value gap here. Um, if we see a breakaway gap, even better. The breakaway gap is when we close above the candle high or low that created the fair value gap, meaning we probably won't see a retracement into it until the draw on liquidity is hit. So there was this setup last night. I was looking at it. I was gonna take it. Never ended up taking it. I think I just missed it is what happened. So there was this one right here during Asia session. It didn't really it didn't really play out till 1 to 2. You could have got a break even out of that, but it happened again here. What I'm seeing is, if you're not seeing what I'm seeing, is we're seeing a sweep of the previous daily low, a market structure shift, fair value gap entry. Sweep of the previous daily low, market structure shift right here because we closed above this swing high, fair value gap entry. Stop at the low, 1 to 2. Kind of how it's very mechanical. That's why I like it. And it works super well. Works more than 50% of the time if you do it right. So that's the with the daily and the 15, external and internal. You can, like I said, you can use the weekly and the 1 hour, monthly and the 4 hour. And those are the previous daily low, previous daily high. You could use the previous weekly high, the previous weekly low. Um, or you can do it the other way, like I've been showing, is the daily, weekly, monthly fair value gaps instead of the swing high or low, but it's just the opposite. It's internal to external. That's what that would be. So it's all the same thing. Because honestly, like here, let me give you an example. What's a good example? Right here, I think. Okay, here. So if you really break it down, the model I'm trading is what? A sweep of the previous daily high, market structure shift. This one wasn't clean. What I'm trying to show you is when we sweep the previous daily high, the other model lines up with this. What's the other model? Internal to external. So when we swept that previous daily high, we tapped into this gap and we reacted out of it. So it's like both of these models are lining up. It won't happen all the time, but when they do line up, it's even better. That's why I'm kind of just focusing on this because this model kind of even works without the other model being involved. So the other one just takes a little more time to play out and a little more patience that I do not have, but once I'm able to trade Forex, I think I'll work with the other model a little bit more. It's just the problem with futures, like I said, is they don't let you swing trade. So a lot of the trades if you can't get a lower time frame intraday entry, you need to swing trade it or just don't trade it at all. Like this trade right here is like an intraday model, but what we're having here is we're coming out of a weekly fair value gap. I know it's tiny, it's hard to see, but we're coming out of a weekly fair value gap. Um, and last week we had this 4 hour fair value gap created. We respected it. We created a new one, and now we're coming out of this one. So that's really what you like to see in prices. Fair value gap created, fair value gap respected, and right out of that old fair value gap, we create a new one that really confirms, order flow and price is moving efficiently. But probably stay on here until this trade hits the TP or the stop loss. Once we get to these triple equal highs here, I'm gonna go to break even. I mean, if we get to here and I go to break even and we come and stop me out of break even and not go to TP, that would be a little annoying, but pretty pretty confident in this trade here. I like the momentum I'm seeing. Natural gas, still waiting on that. Entry looks good though. Boom. You have your old swing high here. So it's like a unicorn model. ICT says that's the strongest entry model, and that's basically what I'm trading now. There's always like a breaker, order block, or mitigation block lined up with the fair value gap that I'm trading. So basically trading the unicorn model now. Works really well. Works really, really well. Been back testing it a shitload. And I like how it's very mechanical, very good risk reward. It's the only reason I stopped trading inverses. Oh, here. So I don't really trade soybean and wheat and corn and all this, but it wasn't this one. It was right here. So let's see actually. From here, so the market did just open. So we wouldn't have gotten our 1 to 2 here. We would have got stop to break even. I would have moved stop to break even after this huge candle. Definitely move your stop to break even. But what we have here is a sweep of the previous day low, market structure shift, fair value gap, entry. Um, don't really trade these. Don't really trade most of these. Just have them on the watch list just to watch price, see how it plays out. Um, definitely want to see us retrace here though. On Yeah, both of these. At least this. I need to see us retrace into this 4 hour. Not gonna take another trade for the day, but want to see if price plays out like I think it will. So I'll just keep an eye on this now. How much else to do except watch this trade. Really like, really like how we're moving here though. So that's the trade breakdown. Every trade I'm taking recently is basically the same thing. Oh, news in 7 minutes. Let's see. Today is June 3rd. Yeah, 9:45 and 10 a.m. I think we have NFP on Friday, so I don't think I'll be trading on Thursday because I don't trade the day before NFP. Probably trade after NFP on Friday if there is a setup. So if we create this in the next 5 minutes, don't normally mark them all out. Maybe you can just see them with my eyes, but I'll mark it out for you guys. A 15-minute potential fair value gap here. I would like to see us respect that, or at least create it. First, I want to see this be created. It's not created till this candle closes. Once this closes, if we don't close above this high, it won't be a breakaway gap. So I would like to see us retrace, respect, push out of it. And if we close above this high, it'll be a breakaway gap. So we shouldn't see a retracement into it. We should just go straight to the draw on liquidity. Um, Pretty confident we hit here. The reason I have my TP here is because I wanted a 1 to 2 and I wanted my stop down here. And a 1 to 2 lines up perfectly with this unbalanced 15-minute. The 1 hour, and it should tap in there. I'll see why not. So natural gas still pushing. So this entry here, like I said, technically invalid just because it's a weekly level. Not supposed to use a 1 hour level. Don't have confirmation. So I guess I would wait for a 4 hour fair value gap here. That's another thing I never used to use. I never used to align the time frames or even know anything about time frame alignment. I'm not gonna lie, this ES setup is so clean. Weekly IRL to ERL, 4 hour fair value gap out of that weekly level, and we would have our IRL to ERL here. And it's, model inside a model. And that's really what we're doing, zooming down as much as we can to get the most precise and accurate entry. I want to see us keep pushing here. Oh. Stop here just because news is coming out soon. 4 minutes. I don't know if I don't really trade. I'm starting to dive into these different like markets and not too sure if how much the euro will be affected by USD news. I mean, it is a futures currency, so it's the dollar has some weight on it. But we'll see right now. If anything, if we're right about our trade, should push us in the right direction. So the only news is you don't want to do this with is FOMC, CPI, and NFP. If you do have a trade on before them, set your break even, don't have much risk on because sometimes your stop loss might not be respected and you could get slipped. I trade prop firms. So I guess it's not as a big, not as big deal as if you were trading live funds, but still, just want to play it on the safe side. Once this candle closes, we'll have our first news event come out. Would like to see us just push up right after this 9:45 news. If not, maybe the 10 a.m. news will push us. Uh, NQ, crazy. NQ is just pumping. No retracement whatsoever. I don't think I'd be surprised if silver respects that 1 hour. I mean, definitely could. And there goes CL, just like I thought. No real way to get in here, unless you took this 15-minute fair value gap. So we did have was, like I said, we had this 4 hour. Since we had this 4 hour and it was the only fair value gap here, when I go up a time frame, there was this daily up here. But since we closed below this low, it's a breakaway gap, so we didn't have to retrace into there, at least not right now. So the only thing I really have here is a 4 hour. And with the 4 hour, I'll drop down to the 15-minute entry. So I guess your entry would have been one of these fair value gaps last night during London session. And it played out nicely. See natural gas. So I like how potentially gonna create a breakaway gap here. News is coming out in 30 seconds. think I risked, let's see how much. I think it was around 500. No, it wasn't. Still a challenge account. I only used 260 risk. So I'm at a 1-to-1 right now. So it'll be about 500 if it hits my target because I go for a 1-to-2. But I'm still doing a challenge with my funded futures. So not too focused on the risk. I mean, I'm only risking 250 bucks on a 150K account. So it's like trying to get this thing passed. Once I pass it, then I'll be more focused on risk. Probably risk anywhere from 250 to 500. If I could risk more in this trade, I would, because it's a challenge. Could just pass it in one trade, but there's certain they have certain restrictions. Like with you can only use 3 contracts when you're at a certain level on the challenge, and it's like, okay, 3 contracts on this Euro asset is not much. 3 contracts on silver would be an insane amount, and on Nasdaq it would be like a good amount. So we did close above this high. So for those of you that don't know, should create a breakaway gap here, meaning we should not retrace into here. And the news came out, and I don't see anything. Maybe Nasdaq and the rest of these pairs had some volatility. It is Monday, so remember we don't even have news on Monday. Monday's like not the greatest trading day. Yeah, I don't see price hasn't moved a whole lot. So now I'm just waiting. I do like that though. Breakaway gap should explode higher. Gonna mark out these equal highs. See if we really start displacing through them once we get there. I do like how midnight opening price lines up directly with this 15-minute if we do retrace there. So it's nothing in trading's 100%, but it's all about probabilities and knowing that this is a breakaway gap, the probability of us retracing into here is a lot lower than us not. So, and I definitely, if you don't know what midnight opening price is, definitely recommend you look into it. Very strong level, I guess, of support and resistance, you could call it. We used to use support and resistance, retail trading. It's horrible, doesn't work. It's meant for you to fail, but this is like real institutional support and resistance. Midnight opening price, fair value gaps, liquidity, SMTs, 8:30 opening price too, which I don't use as much. So it looks like we're probably gonna get the retracement into this gap. Um, I like how the euro is stronger, and that's why I traded the euro instead of the pound. Very, very slow. Hopefully this trade plays out before noon, because if it doesn't, just gonna go to break even and walk away and forget about it. If we do start to reverse below that 15-minute fair value gap, I would set my break even just because we're already at a 1-to-1, maybe a little more, and we're closer to the TP than the stop loss at this point. So it's like you don't want to see this reverse on you. Don't let that happen. Just play it safe. Another news event at 10, so 11 more minutes till that one comes out. Maybe we'll get more volatility there. The only thing that worries me here is these little relative equal lows here. These unbalanced fair value gaps. this unbalanced fair value gap. Do you want to see this 1 hour candle close above this high, confirming we should continue up before retracing down? Candles, the fair value gaps tell you everything. The way we react to highs and lows tells you everything. So I wouldn't get into, there's a lot of stuff that can get you distracted, like the week opening gap, new day opening gap. I know I talk about it, but and Wog and Dog, there's just a lot of terminology with ICT specifically that kind of overcomplicates it. When all you need, is for value gaps and swing highs and swing lows, and that's it. You don't need macros. Like macros, maybe they help. It's like if you're trading in the kill zone, you'll be good. The setup will form probably during a macro. So that's just how the algorithm is booked. But keep it simple. Simplicity wins. Let's see if there's anything on. We'll go look at another Forex. See if there's a Forex setup. Computer's very, very slow. So you know what? I'm not gonna go through all the pairs right now. Too slow. I just did something to speed it up last week. Don't know why it's acting slow. Maybe because it's Zoom. Zoom takes a lot of bandwidth, like I said in the last video. But so now what I want to see is us respect this and displace higher. And a higher time frame wick, like a 15-minute would be a lower time frame displacement. Like this would be like a 1 minute market maker buy model in here. I don't go down to the 1 minute or the 5 minute, especially on these currency futures, because it's just ugly. It doesn't look good, barcodey. But want to see this 15-minute fair value gap deliver us higher. See what the pound is doing. Let's see, where are we? Do want to see this hourly get inversed? This hour close above this candle. Like the bullish SMT, I really do. Gives me a little more confidence. There we go. Looks like we're starting to get that retracement. Uh, we left the eyes here, which don't mean a lot on ES, but definitely something to note. But I'll come back and tag them later. Not later today. I don't know if we'll get this set up today. It's 15-minute, because then we need a 15-minute either sharp turn entry or market structure shift. There's some kind of confirmation telling us we're gonna go higher. Let's see what silver is doing. Boom. Gasoline just dumped. So that 1 hour played out really nicely. Really, really nice. Natural gas, nothing yet. With this candle, obviously there's no entry, but like we're going to the previous daily low. When you see this V-shaped recovery, this sweep on like the 1 hour is probably like a big wick. Maybe on the 4 hour. Yep. Huge wick on the 4 hour. See if we tapped into anything. Looks like we tapped right into this order block. It looks nice. This is corn. I don't trade corn, but oh no, that's actually wheat. This is corn. The Zoom only has an hour, so hopefully we don't hit that hour mark. Want to see the TP hit before that. It was in 5 minutes, so let's see what happens. As you can see, when you trade the right way, it's very boring. A lot of waiting, but it's worth it. This job has me a little bit tired, but it's worth it because I'm not stressed out working anymore and trying to trade and stuff. So I just work at night, trade in the morning. So keeping my stress levels down has definitely helped my trading. Hmm. Also, not trading the 1 minute chart and the 5 minute chart has helped a lot because getting a lot less setups on the 15 minute and up, but it's less stressful, more quality, like I said in the last video, more quality over quantity. The reason I honestly don't really like this 15 minute on natural gas is just because this 4 hour already delivered us. Like we already delivered out of it. So it's like kind of gambling that this 15 minute, I mean, it could deliver us up to the swing high, but I just don't like the signature just because of how high up we are. We're so high up here. Look what happens when I zoom out. We have a lot of fair value that we didn't offer. And if you're confused on what I'm talking about, go look at Sir Pickle's channel and Arjo's channel. Um, ES is the weaker one here. Let's see the 1 hour. I think we'd get a retracement into the 4 hour, not the 1 hour, but if this candle closes and creates a fair value gap here, I mean, and you could get like an entry, but I would like to short above midnight opening price. There's really no way to short this down to it. I mean, and that's not really even, it's not that high probability because this 4 hour fair value gap's so close, but you could short down to it knowing that we're probably going to go there. Um, so we're still respecting that 1 hour. Still respecting this. Want to see us push higher off of it here soon. The next candle. Don't want to see us play around too long here. Two more minutes. Didn't even check out US 30 today. Nothing really valid here, in my opinion. So we did just have into this daily Ferrari wrap on copper, which means if we get this market structure shift, the sweep of the previous daily high, this would be a good entry above midnight opening price. Problem is, I don't know which assets correlated with copper. I mean, all the metals are kind of correlated, but they're very bullish. I don't know if I'd short this. I'm not going to, obviously, but just tape reading. Oh, we could. The reason I say we could is because we swept this high, couldn't close over it. We swept the previous monthly high, We couldn't close over it. And what do we have here? We have fair value gap created, never was traded into. So we should see bearish price action until we trade into that. So I could definitely see this daily fair value gap holding. So that would be a nice setup, honestly. This wouldn't be bad, be valid. Played out before the York session ended 1 to 2. And dang, news just propped us up. That was a gamble. Did not know USD news would do that, but we were in the right direction. So that's why news is okay. And I had my stop loss in place. But yeah, there's a live trade execution, breakdowns, charts, how I'm trading now, what I'm doing. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, God bless. Let me know if you have any questions and video suggestions, and I got you. Thank you.